Well, hello, friends. We're back with your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode 605, and we are recording on January the 31st. Yes, it is the last day of the month. And I don't know, it's all right. The sun is out today here in Toronto. It's blue skies and sunny and getting a bit colder. But at least the sunrise comes up a little bit earlier. The sun sets a little bit later. We're going in the right direction. How are you, Abriana?
We are going in the right direction. I'm good. The sun is not shining here. I mean, it's shining, obviously, but there's no blue skies. Um, and so, yeah, we had a little snow this morning, but nothing, I still would like to get like one good snow. I'd like to get a sled in, before winter's over. But yeah, I'm not opposed to the spring coming in and the longer days. Those very short days are tough, right?
Yeah, yeah. But we're on the right side of it now. So anyhow. All right. Well, we have four stories for you this week, a wide array of things that we're going to cover. And Abriana, as always, is going to kick us off with an interesting one.
I am. For all of those of you who are, on the dating scene, this might be interesting. I'm interested, and I've never had a dating app in my life. I don't know if that's sad or good, but anyways, I digress. Netflix and Bumble have teamed up on a new digital out of home campaign promoting a question game that's within the Bumble app. This just launched, and this was done in-house between the two marketing teams, which is actually pretty cool. No agency involvement here. But this is called Find the Date You've Been Watching For. So clever. That's the name of the campaign, and it's really designed to help these daters strike up fun conversations and like with their matches over what they watch. What are they streaming on Netflix, right? So I think this is really fun. Billboards just went up yesterday in New York and, LA, Chicago, Miami, some other places. And this is running for US, Canada, and the UK. And so the game basically requires that both players answer some questions about some of the most popular shows on Netflix, like Emily in Paris, Love is Blind, Squid Game, Stranger Things, some of those like really big ones, right? And then every Monday, a star from some different shows, like Ashley Park from Emily in Paris. I like Emily in Paris, so cheeky and fun. Anyways, they'll ask a question, and so then they have to answer these questions before, and then they like reveal their responses. So really fun. And this recent survey Bumble conducted, they had 72% of their respondents that have said, hey, we talk about, television, movies, etc. on a date. So obviously this is a category that, it opens up a lot of conversations. I feel like I have this conversation a lot. I think this is really fun. I think this is a very great campaign. I think it's a perfect combination for the two companies. And, Netflix, we know, is going the direction of ad-supported television, but before they're really there, I love that they're still getting involved and having this type of a partnership with, an app like Bumble. So I think, as I am not on the dating market, I would still totally love to play this game while, watching Netflix or, whatever shows I find time to stream. So I think this is a great campaign. I just started like my mind going on all the things that a company like Bumble could do in partnerships. I was like, what if they did something with a nonprofit where they sponsored something where people could meet up while they volunteer, and like they could just do a lot of really great things. So Bumble, write that one down. You can call me later for the details. But I love this. What do you think?
I completely agree. I absolutely love it. I think it's a brilliant partnership. I agree. I also, not in the dating scene, but like I think that I watch people interact on dates, or even just people I friends that I hang out with or talk to. Like TV and what you're watching is one of the number one things that you discuss, right? Like just the other day we were out having brunch, and somebody was talking about this new show that they discovered, and so what do? I go check it out, like the next day, right? So it's definitely, like, I think a topic that resonates. I think it's a partnership that makes complete sense. It's a great sort of icebreaker, if you're on a first date or something like that, to have this kind of discussion and find commonality and in what you're watching. So I think it makes complete sense. I love it a lot. And I'm with you too. I think there's a lot more of these types of partnerships that Bumble could be doing. You mentioned nonprofits. I'm thinking like, hey, go find a fellow thrifter or something,
Yeah.
out there, and set up a time to go to a thrift store, or whatever, like things like that. Make complete sense to me. So it brings me back to, if you remember, way back in the early days of the LBMA, we had this panel discussion with some of the CEOs of the dating apps at the time, OkCupid and Grindr and a bunch of these platforms. And I remember one of the things that was discussed was a partnership between one of them and American Eagle, the retailer, and they had set up these sort of like meetups that they would broadcast through the app, and they would say, okay, like at 6 o'clock tonight, we're all meeting at this, this American Eagle in the corner of wherever in New York, and there's a DJ and there's this, and like, so it's like, driving traffic to the store through the app platform, and obviously it's a physical opportunity for meeting up with people or exploring potential partners. So I think there's a lot of these kinds of things that can happen, but love this partnership, love what Netflix is doing here.
Yeah, you could probably also get some like red flags from what people are watching, like, hey, this guy's streaming Dahmer, I may want to steer clear. Or hey, like she's really into like this chef show, maybe she can actually cook. I don't know.
Yeah. Or she just likes to watch other people cook for her. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, on to our second story. So this one's more about an acquisition in the mapping space. So a company called Strava, which is if you're not familiar with it, it's a kind of social community platform. It's used by about 100 million people globally, and kind of primarily in the outdoors adventure kind of space. They've made an acquisition of a company called FatMap, which is a high resolution 3D mapping platform for the outdoors as well. So Strava's been around since 2009, and has a kind of pretty active, as I said, 100 million people user base, primarily around cycling or running, planning routes and connecting with other fellow athletes. So it's both a sort of a activity planning and community platform all in one. And so they've been working, on kind of growing their base. They've raised a lot of capital over the last number of years. And FatMap is a company that's all about high resolution maps, very detailed maps of, ski resorts, which is where they started, satellite imagery, and so on. And so that, like, if you need like detailed maps of like rivers or river passes or huts or, things in the middle of mountains and things like that, like this is the kind of, really high resolution detailed mapping you want. FatMap's got about 1.6 million users. And they kind of position themselves as the Google Maps of the great outdoors. It's a subscription platform that they sell at $30 per year. And so now Strava's like, hey, we're trying to grow our base. We want to, kind of be all things to, people who are looking to adventure and hike and run and sort of be part of the outdoors lifestyle in that sense. And so I think this is a good acquisition. Strava's raised $150 million since they started, backed by Sequoia Capital and others. They've also done some other recent acquisitions of a company called Recover Analytics, which is in the injury prevention app space, and another company called ProKit, which they bought last year, which is another athlete community. So there seemed to be a consolidation play going on around different apps and different services in sort of the outdoor and athletic space and around that. And so I think this is good. I think it's smart. They say for now they're keeping the two companies separate. FatMap is based in the UK and has employees in France, Germany, and Lithuania, and they're keeping that team intact. But ultimately looking to, over the next course of this year to integrate the digital tech stacks together more closely. So I think it's good. I mean, this is not, I'm not a huge outdoor active person. You know, I like to walk and you know, play ball and things like that, but I'm not a big hiker or anything of that nature. Maybe I'll get into that more, but I think this is, you know, from a consolidation play and from a sort of collection of assets in the space, I think this is super smart by Strava.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Strava has a good brand. And you know, if there's one thing I know is that I certainly don't want to be lost when I'm like outside and camping and there's, you know, wildlife that I may be fearful of around. So I want to know like my way around wherever you're going on a hike and kind of those paths. So I think this is a great asset for them to have. And I think that they definitely have the user base to be able to demonstrate new applications of this technology. So I agree with you. I like that. Not a whole lot more there.
Yeah.
So let's switch it up over to social and another app, and that is Pinterest. And as you think about what the future is with social, you know, and I would just say advertising in general, data clean rooms have been a hot topic, and Pinterest has now partnered up with LiveRamp to pilot their data clean rooms for select advertising partners. So, you know, we've talked a lot, like I think we have a story every week that tends to focus on, okay, cookies are going away, you know, data clean rooms, data privacy, data infrastructure. How do we still continue to allow advertisers to reach these, you know, high value audiences or their specific consumer segments at scale, but with privacy at the forefront? So, you know, the data clean room offering is a great way to be able to do that, where it's like, you know, company A and B and sometimes even C all bring their data together in a place that only, you know, what's matched and what is not PII is taken and activated on for advertising and digital. So, or passed back in terms of, you know, I would say like analysis or insights and analytics. So, this is one that they are testing out with the retailer media network, which is Albertsons company. So Albertsons has their own media collective. And so that's all of their grocers network data, right? So you've got all your consumer data, their emails, what do they purchase, their behavior. And then they can kind of aggregate that and put that together and say through this LiveRamp data clean room and crosswalk, in a privacy-centric way, then they can use Pinterest to target them with recipes or fit, you know, fun foods for the new year, whatever it may be. So they can collaborate and drive that closed loop reporting that brands are asking for. So this is kind of just the start of this. So they're starting with they did like a winter healthy eating campaign. They're measuring off of return on ad spend right now. And then in the future, they're looking at other things that they could do like incrementality, multi-touch attribution, all the things that, you know, retailers and specifically the brands, and I would say like the SKUs from a CPG brand that's selling within an Albertsons wants to know. So they want to know, hey, I'm Pepsi, how well is my product doing in Albertsons in these areas? And so there's like a lot to this story, but I think this is like really the direction that I see a lot of companies going, you know, whether that's in the CTV industry, just like traditional digital advertising with online video or display, digital out of home, even to an extent, you know, and obviously social, like this is the way of the future. So how can we still reach the right, you know, consumer groups and get in front of those, but maintain like that privacy centricity for consumers like us. So nothing really like mind-blowing here. I think this is the way of the future, but they're going to look to expand to additional partners for data clean rooms like most are. I was actually surprised that they chose LiveRamp out the gate. You know, I think that they have been pushing that for a while. And a lot of companies already work with them. So that's like a natural progression. But, you know, some of the other clean rooms like Snowflake and InfoSum, you know, are still, and even Habu are starting to gain some traction as well. So I think most of the platforms like Pinterest are going to be partnering with multiple clean rooms, depending on where their clients go. So.
Yeah, not a lot to add to that. I think you've covered it amazingly well. But I think just pick up on your last point. I think that a lot of these platforms like Pinterest are going to be looking at creating, numerous of these types of partnerships. I mean, I'm happy to see Albertsons is kind of taking a step forward with their media collective and joining in with this and creating a mechanism, for those CPG brands to be able to, gain insights and analytics from what's going on, on purchase patterns and behavior within the Albertson stores here. But I think this is something that you're going to see, lots of retailers do. And I think the other side of this story is that's not talked about as much here, but it is the, what we've covered a lot with Walgreens and CVS and others, around creating, their own internal media networks, and kind of monetizing, the data in that way, or creating their own ad networks in store, if you will. So I think, when you have clean rooms and you have data like that they're trying to put together here, whether it's powered by LiveRamp, which, I think is great. I think, LiveRamp's been looking to push this along for some time now. And so I think this is a good partnership for them. But I think, there's this combination of kind of where's the data sitting and in a privacy compliant framework. And then on the other side, the monetization pieces, in terms of their own media networks, that, that this can power and open up and create new opportunities. So I like it for that reason.
There you go.
Okay. Under our final story. So a company that we've talked about, not recently, but some probably good year or two now, called Cooler Screens, is back at it again. And so at NRF, they made some announcements that they're expanding sort of their footprint and their offerings. So if you're not familiar with Cooler Screens, so these are, you see them in a lot of sort of refrigerator aisles in, convenience stores and things like that. And so think you walk in a convenience store and you got like the cold drink section, and then you've got like the, the glass there and you can see what's behind it. Well, Cooler Screens is a technology that's been around for a while now, where they're able to, still with the glass, but transparently you can see through, but it also can then project advertising in a real-time programmatic way onto essentially a screen that is, in a transparent glass. So, they've had a lot of success with that. They've been growing that, Kroger, Walgreens, Circle K, and then working with some of the brands themselves like Anheuser-Busch and InBev, Kraft Heinz, and others. And so what they've announced now is a new platform called One Store, One Platform. And they're taking this beyond just the refrigerator aisle into, lane coolers, pharmacy screens, end cap displays, and other in-store touch points. So it's, I think it's a natural progression for a company like them to look, hey, where else can we have these screens in a store? How else can we, kind of bring the, sort of the opportunity to engage one-on-one with a consumer, and have more personalized customer experience. So I think this is great. I think this is a good progression for Cooler Screens. And, I think they've got some great retailers and great CPGs that they already work with. And I think this is an opportunity for them to expand beyond, let's say things that, they historically are dealing with in the refrigerator aisle to, having screens out in the store that maybe they can draw, brands like Mondelez, selling chocolate bars or other things, that, aren't, tied to, to a refrigerator. So not a lot to add to it. I just think it's a good expansion of, a really successful company and platform.
Yeah, I think this is super smart as well. And I can see that, I feel like the future of Cooler Screens is going to be an interesting one to watch in the digital out of home space, because there's not a lot of competitors that are really in that same world. And so I think that, the idea of having like something so micro compared to the digital billboard is really smart and amazing. because there's probably a lot of opportunity to change that throughout the day and throughout who's coming in the store and throughout that clientele. That changes a little bit more than you might get with a larger billboard. So you might have a little bit more niche and focus. So I think this is really one to watch. And I could see, a larger out of home company scooping them up or taking them in or trying to bundle this or utilize their services in a partnership as well.
Yeah. So there you go. That's our show for this week. You've been listening and watching episode number 605 of Location Weekly. We, as always, thank you for your time. Please reach out if you have story ideas or feedback for us. We'd love to include that. And we'll see you next week with another show. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.